Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unapologetic. I'm your host, Caitlin Gil-Soto, Dominicana, born and raised in Lawrence, Massachusetts, with summers between Bani y El Cibao. And today, we're going to talk about something that might sting before it heals. We were raised to fight for love, to prove we're worth staying for, to endure not because it's right, but because we think that's what love is supposed to feel like. In Dominican culture, love often comes with a heavy price, especially for women, but also for men. We're taught to aguantar, which is to endure until there's almost nothing left of ourselves. We're told, don't leave your marriage over anything small. That's just how men are. Or a real woman fights for her relationship. But we're never taught how to recognize when something is toxic, unloving, or unsafe. We're taught to stay, but not how to see when staying is slowly killing us. And it's not just women. Dominican men are also raised to suppress their needs, deny their emotions, and equate control with love. They're never told to let a woman leave, even if they're not emotionally available. They're told, a good woman stays even when you mess up, or you gotta provide no matter how you feel. So they too confuse sacrifice with love and struggle with tenderness, vulnerability, and honest communication. This episode is not about blaming, it's about naming. It's about looking at all the ways we were conditioned to survive relationships that don't nourish us and deciding to break the cycle. Because here's the truth, struggle love ain't sacred. God didn't send you a war and call it a relationship. In so many Dominican households, the phrase love endures all things gets misused. They throw it around like it means love should feel like punishment. But love, real love, should not hurt like that. We grew up watching women sacrifice everything, their peace, their bodies, their dreams, just to say they had someone. And we grew up watching men lie, cheat, disconnect, and still get celebrated for staying in the house. Our culture romanticizes the struggle. The woman who puts up with cheating for her kids, the man who stays financially present but emotionally absent, the couple that hasn't spoken kindly to each other in years but still say they're together. But underneath all of that, there's loneliness, there's fear, there's trauma bonding, not love. And maybe the deepest wound of all is this. No one ever taught us that leaving could be holy, that walking away from what harms you could be a form of self respect, that sometimes peace is what love looks like. I thought it was love, but I was just abandoning myself, or I stayed out of fear, not out of love. So many of us are still trying to heal the parts of us that thought survival was love. That confusion is what this episode is here to clear up. Because you are not here to suffer through love. You are here to be loved in truth, in peace, and in alignment. I have a journal prompt here for you guys. What did I witness growing up that shaped the way I define love? Relationships and staying no matter what. And the affirmation I have for this question is, I have the power to break patterns I didn't choose. I choose love that nourishes, not love that drains. Some of us didn't fall in love. We trauma bonded. We confused adrenaline with butterflies. We mistook anxiety for attraction. We didn't know the difference between chemistry and chaos. Because when love wasn't modeled with peace, softness, or safety, our nervous system started to crave what felt familiar, not what felt good. So if you grew up around yelling, manipulation, emotional withdrawal, infidelity, or guilt tripping, you probably learned to associate emotional activation with love. Not calm, not respect, not peace, just intensity. And when you meet someone who's emotionally stable, It might feel boring, too slow, like something must be off. Because you're not being triggered and you mistake the absence of chaos for the absence of love. But here's the truth: if you grew up in survival, then chaos feels like home, and love that feels safe will feel foreign until you heal. That's why we repeat what hurts us. Not because we want to suffer, but because it's the only map we had until we learn to rewire that map. Until we say, I deserve to feel safe and loved at the same time. Or I deserve softness without fear of abandonment. Or I don't have to earn love through pain. You're not crazy for craving love that's both passionate and peaceful. But if your nervous system was raised in dysfunction, you'll need time, tools, and spiritual realignment to feel safe receiving that kind of love. Let's be clear: God is not the author of confusion. So why would you call confusion your person? And I have a journal prompt here for you guys. How has my nervous system learned to confuse chaos with love? And what would it take to rewrite that script? And the affirmation for this question is, I am safe in peace. I don't need chaos to feel connected. I deserve love that calms me. Sometimes we don't even realize we're abandoning ourselves because it looks so normal at first. It starts with laughing at a joke that made you uncomfortable, not speaking up when something felt off, saying it's okay when it really wasn't, letting little things slide even when your spirit felt the shift, and before you know it, you're adjusting, shrinking, apologizing for your needs, your feelings, your voice. That's self-abandonment, and it doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, don't make them uncomfortable. They might leave if you say how you feel. You should be grateful they're even here. But the real question is, why are you more afraid of losing them than you are of losing yourself? Many of us were conditioned to believe that love is earned through silence, that our needs are a burden, that asking for more makes us needy, dramatic, or too much. So we accept crumbs. We call it love. We stay, even when we feel invisible. And here's the truth no one told us growing up: if you have to betray yourself to keep someone, you've already lost. Self-abandonment is not love. And you don't have to keep playing small just to keep a seat at someone else's table. You deserve to sit at your own. Here's a journal prompt here for you guys. In what ways have I betrayed or abandoned myself in relationships? And how can I begin to come back home to me? And the affirmation for this question is, I no longer abandon myself for love. My voice, my needs, and my truth matter. Let's be real. When all you've ever known is dysfunction, real love might feel awkward at first. Like, why are they being so patient? Why don't I feel anxious? Why aren't we fighting and making up like a novela? Because your nervous system isn't used to it. It's used to chaos, to hot and cold, to being on edge and calling it chemistry. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't mean boring. It means regulated. It means your nervous system is not in fight or flight. It means your body is not bracing for abandonment. It means you're not constantly decoding mixed signals, guessing someone's mood, or apologizing just to keep the peace. Real love is steady. It's honest. It communicates. It doesn't need to play games to keep your attention. But if you grew up watching relationships full of shouting, cheating, or silent treatment, that kind of love might feel too still, too gentle, too quiet. You might even sabotage it. Not because it's wrong, but because your body doesn't know how to receive what it never had. That's why healing is sacred, because it teaches you how to receive what you used to run from. And I want to remind you of something important. You are allowed to feel safe and loved at the same time. You don't have to choose between peace and passion. You don't have to prove your worth through suffering. You were not born to fight for scraps of affection. You were born to embody love, not chase it. I have a journal prompt here for you guys. What would love look like if it didn't feel like survival? What does peace and love look like for me? And the affirmation for this question is, peace isn't boring. It's what I've always deserved. I embrace love that doesn't confuse my spirit. The first time I really let go of someone I thought I loved, I didn't cry. I felt annoyed, tired, disappointed in myself for staying so long. And then I felt something unfamiliar. Peace. Not because it didn't hurt, but because my spirit was finally quiet. It wasn't about them. It was about me. About how I had been abandoning myself over and over and calling it love. About how I had spent years trying to convince someone to choose me when I hadn't fully chosen myself. Softness didn't come easy. At first, I thought softness meant weakness. But eventually I realized softness is what you earn after you've been hardened by survival. And now softness to me looks like saying no and not explaining myself, not arguing to prove my point, letting peace be the closure, reclaiming my energy, feeling the presence of God in my own silence. Softness is not passive. It's powerful. It's the strength to love yourself enough not to beg for love anymore. And if no one's ever said it to you before, I want to say it now. I'm proud of you for letting go of what you thought you needed. I'm proud of you for no longer proving your worth to people who couldn't see it. And I'm proud of the version of you that's learning how to choose peace, even when pain tries to call you back. I have a journal prompt here for you guys. What did I learn about softness that made me afraid of it? And what would it feel like to trust tenderness again? And the affirmation for this question is, softness is not weakness. I can be strong, whole, and tender all at the same time. If you made it this far, take a breath. A real one. Not the kind you take when you're bracing for someone's reaction. Not the kind you hold when the tension in the room gets heavy. But the kind that says, I'm here, I made it, and I'm not abandoning myself anymore. Because what we just did wasn't easy. This episode wasn't about an ex, a situationship, or a bad memory. This was about you and the quiet parts of you that have been performing strength for far too long. We grew up watching love play out like a novela or a bachata. Screaming, leaving, coming back, crying, begging, betrayal, makeup sex. It was drama, but it was romanticized. We heard bachatas about dying for someone's love and thought, wow, he must really care. And our culture, it co-signed that chaos. Our tia said, así son los hombres, or that's how men are. And our mother said, el matrimonio no es fácil, or marriage isn't easy. And the church said, Dios quiere que aguantes, or God wants you to endure. But no one said, if your peace is dying, it's not love. If your dignity is disappearing, it's not God. If you're losing yourself just to say you stayed, you're not in love. You're in survival. Let me say this clearly. You are not broken because you want a love that feels safe. You are not ungrateful because you're no longer willing to settle. You're not too much for asking for the one thing no one gave you growing up. Peace. Peace isn't boring, it's regulated. Softness isn't weakness, it's strength healed. Clarity isn't cold, it's love that doesn't need chaos to feel alive. So maybe this episode wasn't your closure. Maybe it was your permission slip. Stop romanticizing suffering. To stop mistaking confusion for connection. To stop telling your body to be quiet when your soul is screaming this isn't love. You're allowed to change the story. You're allowed to say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. You're allowed to become the first in your lineage who chooses peace, even if they call you cold for doing it. And if no one has told you this before, let me be the first. Your peace is not a problem, it's your promise. I have a journal prompt here for you guys. What parts of myself have I silenced or shrunk in order to feel loved? And what would it look like to reclaim them now? And the affirmation for this question is, I am not too much for asking for peace. I am finally becoming the version of me that knows I deserve it. And then let's do a prayer. So let's take a deep breath and exhale. Now put your hand on your chest. God, thank you for making me whole, even when I forgot it. Thank you for calling me back to myself. Thank you for reminding me that love is not pain, and pain is not love. I release every version of me that settled out of fear. I forgive the me that abandoned myself just to feel wanted. And I welcome the version of me that walks in peace, not performance. God, help me protect my softness. Let me choose my peace like it's sacred, because it is. Let me be brave enough to love without losing myself. Amen. Thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you for listening with your heart open and your spirit ready. And if this episode hit home, share it with someone you love. Send it to the friend who's tired of surviving relationships. Send it to the cousin who needs a reminder that love doesn't have to hurt. We're not just breaking cycles. We're rewriting the story of what love gets to feel like. And if you need a little extra support, grab your journal, revisit the prompts, say the affirmations out loud. You already have everything you need inside of you. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Unfiltered Unapologetic Pod, and you can find me over at Caitlin La Jefa. Support the show via Buzzsprout. The link will be in the show notes. And remember, you're not too much. You're not broken. You're just the first to say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. See you next time, everyone.